Okay, as we start a new week, we start a new series of daily briefings. Planned to air for you in the 1 p.m., 5 p.m., and 8 p.m. hours on KLAM and KCDV, and then also archived for listening on demand at youtube.com/Cordova TV. I'm J.R. Lewis. Today's date is June 22nd. Hope everybody had a good weekend, a good Father's Day, and we're going to visit with Mayor Koplin this time and take a look at these new ferry regulations that came out over the weekend and a couple of other things. So, again, glad you could tune in, and we'll visit with the mayor. Mayor Koplin, we start a new week here. Let's dig into this new business with the ferry. I mean, that's sort of the main new thing. They've announced some new protocols that seem to be raising some eyebrows. So, I mean, as you look them over, what are they proposing, and what's Cordova's reaction so far, if there's been enough time to have one?
Oh, there's been plenty of time when it comes to marine highway system. There's an equal and opposite reaction. It happens almost at light speed. There's a lot of frustration. I share in that. So does our city manager and Representative Louise Dietz. It just seems like the marine highway system just can't seem to get things right, to be frank. We don't have a lot of ferry service chartered for the summer. It's very difficult and inconvenient, especially if you're a business or a citizen trying to take advantage of weekday appointments that you're bound to. And there's the underlying concern of a ferry being canceled because of potential case on board. And now we've got these requirements that seem to be a little more stringent than even the airlines. And so we are reaching out, myself through my channels. City manager has reached out to the medical staff to make sure that these new protocols for the marine highway system make sense to the state's medical staff. And then Representative Dietz is contacting the marine highway system management directly, both to share our concerns and see if we can get some kind of accommodation. So we are working and hope to have answers to the community, some of which were scheduled to travel as early as this coming weekend and over the holiday. So that's the best I can say right now is that we're working on it and hope to have some clarification information in real short order by end of today or tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be able to share that here through your program.
Okay. Well, I mean, we have had a degree of success rerouting ideas that the state tries to come up with that are sometimes not as thoroughly fleshed out as they ought to be. But the basic, it seems, if I'm reading it right, like the main difference between what the ferry is doing and what the airplanes are doing is that the aviation industry has come up with a way for people to go ahead and be able to travel and test after the fact, whereas that's not the case with the ferry. It's either you have your test prior to boarding or you can't board. Yeah,
exactly. And so for Cordova's part, on the outbound leg, that's no problem because we have been remarkably successful containing, or actually not having any community spread, and the testing is so accessible here, but trying to return from somewhere else is not as easy as it might look on paper. Just some of the feedback I got last week from travelers is that even though other communities have testing locations, they often charge for testing or require a doctor's script saying that you meet the CDC minimum thresholds for testing, or they can't turn them around quickly enough to make a difference. So it just isn't practical.
Yeah. Well, it's good to hear that there are a lot of response folks. You mentioned yourself, the city manager, Stutz, looking into this, and so we'll see how that goes. Because I don't know, part of me wants to say it's a little early yet. Maybe it can get fixed, but then on the other hand, you never know. We were talking about testing. What are something on that?
Oh no, it just kind of reminded me that recently, the incident management team has been looking at our own Alaska Marine Highway System port of call. It is one of the three ports of entry into Cordova, the harbor and airport, of course, being the first two where we have good established protocols. The AMHS terminal is going to start business, obviously, here in a couple of weeks. And so we're in the stages of developing that port of entry plan and how we'll manage that. So hopefully I'll have some news to share there here in the next few days.
Okay, good. Well, we won't run out of things to talk about. Now, we've been talking about testing and how well Cordova has been doing that, apparently relative to a lot of other places, making testing just widely available. What are the numbers looking like? Is it are we still testing a lot of folks?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, as of Friday, we had 906 tests administered, so we're over the 900 mark. 904 returned negative. We had the one active case that's recovered, and then the one active case that was discovered last week, and they are isolated in quarantine. And over the weekend, from the ambassadors' reports, they tested at the airport 11 on Friday and 10 on Saturday. So it looks like they're averaging about 10 a day, so that'll take numbers up close to 930 tests.
Yeah, okay. And you're talking about the ambassador group out at the airport that tests people coming in before they head into town?
Exactly. The ambassadors actually check for travel paperwork and credentials and provide resources. It's our own medical team, actually, that has a nurse out there applying the tests in advance. Right. So it's a great service. And
they do that 5 days a week. The other 2 days, the 2 days that they don't do that at the airport, the testing in town is still available.
Exactly.
Okay. Something I'm always interested in, particularly coming off of a weekend when we haven't visited in a few days, is anybody that you've talked to, outside of Cordova, or any meetings that you had. You get to participate in a lot of conversations. Were there any of those, and if so, what were the outcomes?
Well, yeah, now that you mention it, last week we talked a little bit about the Coast Guard Admiral visiting Cordova, and also our Commissioner of Fish and Game and the Commercial Fisheries Director, Sam Raybung. And the Commissioner had to leave on Thursday, but on Friday afternoon, we hold our weekly industry meeting, which includes our local fish processors, our local fish and game staff, CDFU, ISWAC, the fisheries-related organizations here in the community. And the Director of Commercial Fisheries had a chance to sit in on that meeting. And he was able to offer a perspective, again, about Cordova's leadership, really, during this pandemic, and drawing attention to the importance of seafood to our economy and as a critical infrastructure, and also our very proactive approach to work towards having a successful season, processing and fishing, while also protecting our community. And it really kind of became a model for the other communities. And the downstream benefit of that is that this governor, commissioner, administration has seen the importance and the value of seafood to the state in a little sharper focus. And in fact, the governor apparently recently made a comment that there are three legs on the economic stool of Alaska's economy, and fisheries is the leg that we have left. The others being, of course, oil and gas and our other industries. So,
yeah. So, a possible silver lining of all of the craziness this year may be renewed focus on the value of fisheries then going forward?
Absolutely. And I can tell you it reaches up to our national administration level, too. It isn't lost on the president and the administration that while a lot of the meat packing plants and a lot of the food processing nationwide had some real serious problems, Alaska, where you would expect it to be the biggest challenge with our transient workforces, has actually performed extremely well.
Yeah, well, there's no question. I remember those days barely because it was so many weeks ago, but all of the work that went into crafting those plans, and it was a lot of local voices that helped shape that conversation. So it's nice to be able to be a success story among all the chaos. So something else that is of interest to me is when you're able to get out and about and kind of observe, does it seem like people are following the rules? Are they, are you seeing mask wearing? How is that? Tell us about some of your recent walks, I guess.
I haven't been down in the harbor in a few days, and frankly, I glance down there a lot, and I see there are a lot of boats that are not in the harbor. And as I get out subsistence fishing, I see that a lot of the boats are just staying out on the grounds. Fortunately, we had an opener last Thursday, so that helps boats to be able to stay out when the tenders come out and so forth. But I have been in and out of the businesses a lot, and I think people continue to respect the mask rule and other requests for distancing and sanitation. And the city had put together, city manager Howard had put together those little $5 thank you coupons to hand out to people who are following the rules, but also to help drive business in Cordova. So as I was out and about, I saw probably 95% compliance with mask wearing, and I made a point of walking up to people and even the clerks and some of the businesses and handing out those thank yous, just appreciating them, following the rules to try to keep the community safe, but also for shopping in Cordova as we work to support our local businesses.
Yeah, well, that certainly sounded like a good. I remember when that program was first announced, it seemed like a good idea. Anything as we wrap up here? Anything else that's on your mind?
No, I think today I just want to thank again our medical team. We had an extended team that works very quietly behind the curtains with a lot of footwork and plan review and support throughout. Dr. Blackadar, nursing staff, our Dr. Sanders, Dr. UT over at the Lonka Clinic, and again, they work so well together. It's just a great model and one I hope we can preserve going forward. So thank you, medical team.
Okay, well, thank you, Mayor, for the visit. We'll see how things evolve with the ferry and other issues, and see what's available for us to go over next time.
Okay, we'll keep you posted.
Okay, that'll do it for today's Daily Briefing. These are heard in the 1 p.m., 5 p.m., and 8 p.m. hours on KLAM and KCDV. They are also placed upon our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Cordova TV, to be heard at a time of your choosing. Remember the 424 info line to share concerns and ask questions about Cordova's response. And also 424-WELL to get a recorded announcement with the latest information. That's a phone number that's provided by the Village of Eac. We'll return you to regular programming now on the Clam and the Eagle.